everyone. So today, like Macaulay said, we're going to be looking at settings on a Mac. This will help you just adjust any basic settings on your computer, such as how to maybe change your password, how to change your audio settings, how to change things on your dock at the bottom. So we'll go through all of these in the presentation. So in order to change your settings on your Mac, you have to go into System Preferences, which is in your dock settings, or you can also access it at the top left of your screen if you click that little Apple button. Anything to do with your computer, that's what that little Apple sign is. So you can find out more about the type of computer you have, and all different things, how to use your computer. But for today, we're looking at System Preferences. So you can either click at the top or click the little cog button at the bottom in your dock. So we're not going to be covering everything here. We're just going to be looking at what's most important to help you use your computer easier. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is General Settings, which is over here, the first thing that you see on the left. So I just clicked there. So the first thing that we see in General Preferences is the appearance of your computer. Right now I have mine set to dark mode. That's the contrast that I prefer, but you can also change it to a lighter mode. As you can see, it brightens up and turns into white. But you can also set it to auto mode, which means that it will change based on the color of the background on your pages will change based on the time of day. So as you can see, it hasn't changed because during the daytime, it will go to this light white or gray color, and at night it was switched to the dark mode. So I'm going to change mine back to dark just because that's the way I prefer it. And then the second thing that you can see here are the accent colors. This is just where you kind of click. As you can see, it's changing all of these little arrows. They're changing colors. I prefer mine on blue, so that's how we're going to leave it. Your highlight color is the color that when you highlight something, what it appears like. So I'm just going to quickly open Safari here. As you can see, when I click, the highlighted thing is blue. If I want to change it to red and I go back, it's been highlighted in red. So these are just kind of little quirky things that you can change. They're just really preference based. But we're going to leave mine at blue again. And then you can change your sidebar icon size. Oh, so in the Finder, if we're going to go into there where we have all of our documents, the icons are just going to change size. It's hidden in the back here. This bar over here on the left is changing size. So mine's left on medium. That's how we're going to have it. And then for the show scroll bars, what that means is that when you have a page that's a bit longer and you want to scroll, it will pop up on the right. As you can see here, the scroll just popped up. Mine is set to, sorry, I have a lot of things going on my screen here. I will minimize this one so that's less distracting. There we go. And so in my back here, as you can see, I still have my general, and here is my Safari. I'm just opening it up as a little demo. So when I'm scrolling on this page, I have the scroll bar here. If you prefer to have this all the time there, you can just click always. And as you can see, it changed and it's always going to be there. But since I'm using a trackpad, with the trackpad settings on the Mac, if you use it, it pops up. If you're not scrolling, it goes away. So again, just a little quirky thing that you can change on your computer. And this is a pretty important area for most people. What default web browser you want to use can be changed here. Mine's set to Safari. I also have Firefox downloaded, Google Chrome, and I don't even know what this is. I've never used it before. But mine's set to Safari. If you prefer something else, this is where you go to change it. In general, and down here you look for default web browser.
And that just means any links you open from your computer, like from an email, say, it will automatically use that browser to open that link.
Yeah, thank you. And so what recent items means is that whatever things that you've opened up on your computer knows that those are the last couple of things you've selected. Me, it's really useful when I'm in school and working on a bunch of different papers at the same time. I'll just be able to open up something and it will show me this is the last paper that you worked on, and I can just easily open it up there. So it's pretty handy that your computer can remember the last few things that you used. And you can kind of select here the last documents, applications, and server that you used. Mine's set 10. That seems like a pretty good number for me, but you can go all the way up to, it was 50. And this is actually a pretty good setting if you're working on whatever you might be typing up. You can, whenever you're closing any documents, it'll keep your changes. For close windows when quitting an app. So basically, your windows won't reopen automatically the next time you open an app if you have this deselected, or sorry, if you have this selected. So we're gonna put it back like that. Okay, so that's your general settings. We're gonna get out of there, and now we're gonna change over to our desktop and screensaver. So I'll open up again this little question mark. It'll give us kind of a little guide as to what we can do in here. As you can see, my very slow computer is gonna open it very soon. The bar at the top just means how much it's loading. But basically when we're in here, we can change our desktop, which is what I have in the very back. I'll just minimize this quickly so you can see. The desktop is just the picture that you have going on in the background. I personally like nature and water, so I picked this one here, but we can pick a bunch of different ones based on whatever we might like. And one thing that's pretty cool, I have the Catalina version of Mac. You have something that's called a dynamic desktop. So just like how we have this, the dark and light screen modes that can change during the day, this can also change based off of whether it's daytime or nighttime. So right here, since it's daytime where I am and where most of us are, that's why we have a really sunny picture. But with this dynamic setting, this will slowly go to a dark setting throughout the day. So it's kind of a neat feature. You can see what time of day it is if you're working away on your computer all day and don't get a chance to look outside the window. So mine was just set to a basic desktop picture, but you can also change different pictures based off of what you might have in your photos, the different albums you're using, and just a bunch of different pictures that you have stored on your computer. So if you have a picture of your family, wherever it is saved, you could find it in here. If you want to use whatever Mac has set as default, you can have it here. Just select whatever you would like. You can also change the picture every little while, whatever you want to select. You just click this here and the picture would change every hour, 30 minutes, 15, or even just change every time you're logging in or every time it's waking up from sleep. What waking up from sleep means is that if I'm away from my computer for a certain amount of time, the computer will kind of just gently power down or go to sleep essentially, but everything is still running in the background, just as kind of going into a bit of battery saving mode by being in sleep. So every time I would go back to my computer and turn my screen on, it would change the desktop then. So I'm going to have mine set back to what it was. So that's desktop. Now screensaver is let's just open it up here. So if I'm not using my screen for a little while, I can set something up such as a screensaver. It's pretty similar to when it's going into sleep. If I haven't used my computer, say over here, I select after 20 minutes, it can change the different pictures. And here it has different ways of displaying those pictures. There's a lot of information here. This is cool. So I can do shifting tiles. So if you're using a a screensaver, it would just go to this on that one that I selected, and you just have it changed to a bunch of different pictures. I press escape mode just to get out of that. You can probably also just click on the screen. So yeah, there's just a whole different way of a bunch of different options as to what your computer can change to when you're not using it. So that's screensaver. And now we're gonna go back to the general system preferences. In screensaver, there's also something called hot corners. It's just this button right over here, and it's a pretty good accessibility tool. So I'm gonna let Macaulay take over and give us some more information on that.
Okay, so yeah, this is also accessible from Mission Control, but I guess it's here too. Really slow. So yeah, hot corners. Basically what this means is you can set different corners of your screen to different, to get you to different places. So for example, I'll change the top left hand of my corner to desktop, and then I'll just show you how this works. Let's do bottom left hand corner. Let's go put display to sleep. So we'll just do those two just to show you. So what's going to happen when you do that is if I go up here and I'll just take my thing, it will bring me directly just to my desktop. And if I go down here, it's going to put my screen to sleep. So basically, it's just a really easy way to do some of like the controls that you have. I know that a lot of controls require you to use like a bunch of your fingers, and they can be a bit hard, especially if you don't have great dexterity in your hands. So this is a good option for those other things. You can get back to your desktop, to Mission Control, to your notification center, all those things by just using those hot corners. So they're a great actually accessibility feature.
So dock is, let me just get the info bar up. That will load in a second. So dock is basically this bar that I have here at the bottom. It's all of my general applications that I use often. Here I have things that I've been using right now. So Zoom, I had a PowerPoint open, I was using my calculator before. So these are things that I was using recently. Here I have, I don't know where they're on that side, but I've just pinned some things that I use often in my dock. So I go into my documents very often. And the way that you get something into or out of your dock is by right-clicking it, going to options, and I can remove it from here since it's already there. But if I have something else, for example, a file or anything, I would just right-click it and put pin to dock or add to dock, whatever it is. So that's what these two in my dock are. And then this is just, since I have a Safari page open, that's what I'm currently using. So in dock, we have the option of changing its size. Mine's set to medium, but I can make it larger. As you can see, it went to almost full size of my screen. I can make it very small so you can't see anything, but we're gonna leave it at medium. For magnification, if I have this on, whenever I go to something in my dock, it's gonna blow up like that. I had mine off. I'll show you again. If I have it on magnification and I put magnification off and I put my mouse over something, it doesn't blow up. It just stays the same. So it's personal preference. I can also change it to be on the left side of my screen, which is going to be over here. But the left side of my screen is smaller, so I prefer to leave it at the bottom. I can put it on the right side, which might not be visible right now. But so yes, it's personal preference, left, bottom, or right. Genie effect and scale effect, I'm not going to go into that because it's just when you minimize the window, what it looks like going down, they're basically the same thing. Doesn't really matter. And these are all things that you can select or deselect. There are different actions that are going to have different effects on your windows. So if I double click on some things on the bar of something, it's going to open it up. Or if I double click again, it's going to minimize it maybe. It's not working in this window, but anyways, that's what that setting does. If I double click on the top bar up here on anything, let's go to Safari. If I double click, it'll open it. If I double click, it'll minimize it. So that's what the zoom here means. I have it set on zoom. you can click on minimize and it would just shoot it down in the bottom of your screen if you were to double click.
Yeah, these are just going to affect how your windows appear and look. In terms of like accessibility, they don't have the most use. They're just going to be how things look when you open and close them. So you can play around with those and see what you like, but that's just all appearance-based stuff.
Yeah, and you can waste so much time doing this. Like the whole hour before the presentation, I was going through everything, and I didn't get too far because it was just a lot of just little stuff that doesn't really matter, but you know it's kind of there, or you can just change it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on here, and definitely just take a look. If you're not sure what something means, like even I'm not sure what half of this stuff means, just go into this little question mark at the bottom of the screen and you will have this window open up and it will tell you what its options it's giving you and what that means. And if you don't understand, just try changing it and you'll kind of figure out what the difference is. So the next thing we're going to be covering is mission control. Mission control is just, let me click on the question mark. So mission control is, they call it spaces, but essentially what this does is it will help you rearrange or create different workspaces on your screen. So there is a button that looks kind of like this icon that I have on my keyboard. It's F3 for me. So if I click it, it's gonna give me, it's gonna kind of split my whatever I have open into these different areas. Here, I'll add Safari so you can see it better. So it kind of rearrange things so it's more neat. I can see all the things I have open. Basically in this area, you can, for example, group windows by application. If I had multiple Safaris open, it would put all of my Safaris in here. If I had multiple Word document opens, it would put it into one. So it's kind of just helping you arrange things so you can, I guess, just visually have more clarity. One thing that's pretty cool up here, as you can see, I have 2 different desktops that were created. I can also choose to add more by going to the right side of my screen and clicking on this plus button. But essentially, let's say if I I needed a desktop where I could do things for work, and I needed a desktop where I could do things for my school or for cooking or for whatever I wanted, and I needed them separately, I could go into these 2. So if I go into language and region, I'm gonna click the question mark and have that open up. So there's a lot of things that you can change in here for where you're at. You can change your keyboard. For example, if you wanted to write something in French, you would just click on this and you can open up a French keyboard. So then it wouldn't keep on clicking your spelling and trying to change it back into English. You would just go into here and change it. Also many different languages. As you can see, I've only scrolled a little bit and we've already seen so many. So your language is probably, you can just change your region for wherever you're at, however you want the first day of the week to show up in your calendar, which is down here. Whatever calendar you want to use, how you want your temperature to be set. So this is just a pretty general area for anything that pertains to whatever language and region you are in. So next we're going to be looking at privacy and security. In security and privacy, in the general area, mine just goes to privacy automatically, but I'll start at the beginning with general. I can change whatever password I've been using. Again, this pertains to security. Bar my password after however much time after my computer's been put to sleep. So let's say if I walk away from my screen, my computer goes to sleep, and my brother or someone else decides to use my computer, they would need a password to get back in. So it's a good little security measure, and you can change whatever time you have here. I will clarify that in order to change it in here, because it's pretty, like as the user, you want to be the only one able to change these, you'd have to click the lock and put in your password, and then you would be able to change things. I can't change anything right now. It asks me for my password automatically. So just making sure that no one else has gotten into your computer somehow and is trying to change your information or your settings. So for firewall, this is just an extra security protection measure. I have them set on probably recommend everyone has it set on. Again, if it's not on, you can just click the lock down here, enter your password, and turn it on. Under privacy, this is just going to, this is where you allow how different apps access your information or share your information. For example, for camera, I have it set for Skype and Zoom. I had to give them access in order to use my camera. For whoever wants to use my photos, it's Firefox. I don't have it set on. But for example, if I wanted to post a picture onto Facebook, and I would need to allow some sort of internet browsing application access to my photos in order to post them. So I would do this here in security and privacy. And so again, this is just a bunch of different ways that applications can computer information. So if you scroll down to here at advertising, this is a kind of an important area to help you stay protected. You can limit ad trafficking, which is going to kind of limit the amount of companies and whatever secret stuff is going on behind the screen that I don't understand, in order to try and target you and track whatever pants you were looking to buy online, and now they're everywhere. So I know that tends to pop up in some of our sessions for like we were talking about it when we were discussing Facebook and other stuff. So yeah, you would want to set your limit ad tracking on, and you can do this here in privacy. So that's security and privacy. Next, we are going to be looking into Spotlight.
Basically, Spotlight is when you're using this search up here to search. So for example, if I search Sims, I can find my Sims app on my computer. So basically you can use this search to search anything that's on your computer, sometimes on the internet and in different folders. And what you can do in the setting area is you can basically change where you're seeing results from. So if you turn off this and I turn off applications and I search it, I'll no longer see my Sims application. So you're choosing what search options you get, and it just basically choosing where you want it to search. And the same goes for privacy. You can choose sections where Spotlight cannot search. So I don't know if you have some secret file that you don't want someone to be able to search up on your computer, you can add it to there. So that it doesn't pop up when someone's searching through your computer. And this is just a great tool if you don't know necessarily where something is on your computer. It can help. I always use it because I don't know where my calculator is.
How did you get into that again?
My search. So it's right up here in the top right corner. I don't know if you can see it. And then you can search anything on your computer.
So the next thing we're going to cover is our notifications. So as you can see here on the left side, I have a bunch of different apps that I tend to use, and they'll send you different notifications just like they do on your phone for whenever someone sent you a message or whatever new software you need to download or something like that. So these can pop up here. You also have Do Not Disturb, which is an interesting function. You have this on your iPhone as well. I think it's maybe a bit more useful on your phone if you don't have everything connected on your computer. But so basically, you can select between what hours you don't want to be disrupted. So let's say I didn't want anyone to bother me between 10, or if I was gonna work. Let's say I had homework and I didn't want to get any, okay, it's not working. I didn't want anyone to bother, okay. So anyways, if you're changing the hours, if you don't want something to bother you and send you notifications, you can just change the hours here. So that's kind of the main thing there for these notifications. It looks really, really similar to the iPhone. You can get the different ways that you're alerted for stuff, how long they stay there, and all those kinds of things. So that's notifications. The next thing we're going to be covering is displays. So if I go into my display settings, I'll be able to change my brightness here. As you can see, it's going up and down. You can also do this probably through your keyboard if you have an Apple keyboard. One thing that's pretty neat, if you have like an Apple TV or something like that, you can broadcast, I guess that's the right word. You can put anything that's on your Mac onto your Apple TV. Say I wanted to play a video and I didn't have it, I wasn't on YouTube, like it was a video that I took, I would go into my photos, let it play, and then go into here and change my display to Apple TV and have it show on my TV that way. So that's what this means down here. So for night shift, it will change the warmth. For people who have I don't know, if you get a headache from using your computer often, or whatever the light that is coming through. Sorry, I'm like losing technical words. This is a lot. So for your color, you can make it warmer or cooler. I personally prefer it warmer. I have an app called Flux, which actually makes my screen already warmer. This was before Mac even had night shift to make it warmer. So if you're basically like the color or the light that's coming through your phone or your computer, it's not that great for your eyes, especially closer to nighttime. It can disrupt your sleeping patterns. So if you're working close to nighttime, you'd want to make it more warm because it takes that blue light out of your screen, so it's easier on your eyes. So again, you can do it here in displays and night shift. I have this app I told you about called Flux. It's pretty good. It's been recommended to me by people. So that's another thing if you're having headaches or problems with your eyes from using your computer screen. One, maybe try and use it less, and then two, try and mitigate the problem by changing the hue or the warmth of the screen, as they call it. So I have mine scheduled off because I have that other app, but you can set it to sunset to sunrise, or custom from different hours of the day. So that's over here in night shift. Next, we're going to be looking at Energy Saver. So this is when I was talking about putting the computer to sleep. This is kind of similar to that, I guess. This is your display will just kind of shut down. So mine is gonna go to sleep after 5 minutes. So basically, if I'm typing something and then I go use my phone or I leave the room and 5 minutes have elapsed, then it'll, like, my display will turn off. It'll go black. And going back to that password setting thing that we had earlier, if I tell it to ask for my password again after my computer goes to sleep, that means that it would go to ask for my password whenever I set after this sleeping period. So mine's set to 5 minutes, but you can set it to never turning your display off, or after 1 minute, whatever. This is where you would do it.
But for the sake of your computer's lifespan, I would try to set it as low as possible for you, because the longer, if you put it on never, for example, that can really shorten the lifespan of your computer screen. So yeah, if you're in sound, you can see a few things. Sound effects, we won't focus on that. That's just going to be different alarms that you can use. But that's just for like kind of notifications. We'll focus on your input and your output. So your input is everything that's going into your computer. So that would be your microphone. You have one already internally in your device, but you could also set up a plug-in one. And if you have one plugged in, for example, it would come up here. Right now, I just have my internal microphone, so it's built in. You can change the input volume. So if I put this really low, I don't know if my voice is getting quieter for you. It's going to pick up less sound from my mic. If I put it up really high, my mic is going to be super sensitive. And then there's this use ambient noise reduction, which is automatically on. This is just going to make my sound a bit cleaner. It's going to remove any sort of kind of small background noise, any white noise that might be playing in my background that's distracting. So if like I had a washer going right now, it would minimize that background noise, for example. And then output, you'll have the same things. Right now I'm listening to my headphones, so I have my headphone port in. You guys might see internal output right now if you don't have headphones plugged in. And again, so here you can change the balance. So if I move it to the left, I'm only going to be hearing music, the sound out of my left ear and to the right as well. So this is a great feature. If you are hard of hearing in one ear, you can switch that so that it's playing more to one ear than the other. And then again, this is just volume. So this is what you can control with on your screen, on your keyboard with those up and down volume buttons. That's the same thing there. So that's sound, pretty straightforward. I think the last thing we're going to go through is users and groups. I just wanted to do this quickly. So basically what this is just your sign in. So you can have, you have your own sign into your computer, and I'm the admin, but I could create other users on my computer. So if you wanted someone else to be able to use your computer, but not have access to your files and anything you're opening or mess with any of your settings, you could create another user. You also have the opportunity here to turn on guest user. And so someone else could use your computer and not have access to your files or stuff, so they wouldn't be messing with anything you have open. And this is also where you can change your password and any other login items that you have. You can also look at your contacts card and stuff like that. So this is just to play with the users on your system. So that is basically all for like the main settings. I know there are other things in here that we did not review, but you can go ahead and play around with those. There's a lot in here. So for those who use an iPad or an iPhone primarily, on your phone, you'll have very similar settings. You'll have those notification settings that we went over, sounds and haptics, which should be all the sounds that play on your phone when you get notifications and stuff like that. You'll have that do not disturb mode. You can also on here check your screen time. So you can see my daily average is 4 hours and 6 minutes, which is down 18% from last week, which makes me feel good about myself. But you can also in here, you can set limits to your apps. So you can add a limit, say you don't want to be spending too much time on Instagram. You can add a limit to your social media apps like Instagram, and you can select then how long it allows you to stay on those apps. After that, it will tell you every time you go over, and it kind of shames you for being on over your chosen time, basically. So that's a great tool if you're trying to limit screen time. Other than that, you do have those general settings. That's going to be your keyboard, time, and language preferences, as we went over on the computer. And they're all here. A lot of them are very similar, though of course they're going to differ from your computer. Another one to point out is wallpaper. That's how you can change your background. Right now it's my dog, and you can change it to a darker appearance when your wallpaper dims too. So you have all those things. You can also check out your battery health. This is great for increasing the longevity of your device. You're going to want to I would put on low power mode, which when you have a low battery, it saves battery so that you're not using as much energy on your phone. It will make it last longer. And there's all these kinds of things, and you can see how much battery usage every app is taking up, which is helpful for, again, increasing the longevity of your device and stuff like that. Other than that, you'll have basically almost all your apps listed here, and you'll be able to go in there, and for each individual app, you can change stuff like the notification settings, the privacy settings. For example, if I clicked on AllTrails, I can see that it's off for my cellular data, and it has access to my location while I'm using it. And you can go in there and you can say never allow it, always allow it, ask every time. So stuff like that. The settings on your phone are going to be very similar to on your computer, and not that they're going to work the same, but you'll have a lot of the same options. And those will be the same on like an iPad as well as your iPhone.